Today, we're going to lay out just a basic argument in defense of the unborn. How can you summarize and give a coherent, logical presentation of why the unborn should be protected? Now, this here is not going to have a religious element to it, but that is something that obviously can be added in, should be added in. And how is it that we have the right to life? Because it doesn't come from the government. It is something that it is endowed to us by our Creator, as the Declaration of Independence so clearly states. So how do we lay this out? Probably the most simplest way to lay out the argument for why abortion is wrong from a more secular or just biological presentation is laying out this argument, this syllogism. It is always wrong to kill an innocent human being. Abortion kills an innocent human being. Therefore, abortion is always wrong. So with that argument, what the pro-abort, what the pro-choice individual must do in order to push back on your argument, they're going to have to attack one of those first two premises. So they're going to have to argue that, one, it's okay to murder innocent human beings, at least in some cases, or that abortion is not killing an innocent human being. Now, this syllogism uses the word killing. I believe that is too soft of a term. It's murder. It's something that is done premeditated. It's not something that was done on accident or just kind of just happenstance. It's something that was intentionally done, which would be murder. However, for the sake of getting the ball off the ground, this is an easier syllogism to present, to argue for, because you're not arguing over the word murder and what's entailed with that, as opposed to killing. Just about everyone's going to agree that something is being killed in the womb. The question is, what is that? Now, in many of the arguments that are going to be put forward, it's going to get off of that topic. When you lay out that syllogism, that it's always wrong to intentionally kill a human being, that abortion kills an innocent human being, therefore abortion is always wrong. When you present that argument, present that syllogism, often there's going to be some pushback saying that the unborn is different for some reason. They're not worthy of the same protections as a born individual. When that happens, nearly anything that's brought forward at that point that is offered as pushback is going to fall under one of these four things. They can be helpful to remember the four categories with the acronym SLED, S-L-E-D. The first one, S, being size. The unborn are smaller than the born. They're very tiny. They are smaller than you and I. But does that make the small individual less valuable, less worthy of protection, or unworthy of protection, as opposed to the born individual? And when we consider the fact that some babies are born premature, that some individuals, some unborn, are larger than those in the NICU hospitals being treated and trying to save their lives. And yet this individual that is bigger, that's still in its mother's womb, can be killed because of our evil abortion rights. Number two, the L in our acronym SLED. L is the level of development. So again, in the unborn, those still in its mother's womb are less developed than most born individuals. They are less developed than you and I. But does that make them less worthy of protection and the right to life? Again, they are made in the image of God. That is our argument for why humans have intrinsic value, not because of their size or how developed they are, the level of development that they have reached. And again, we still have some individuals that are born prematurely, that are born, they have that right to life recognized. They are less developed than those that are older from their conception date, but are still in their mother's womb developing. They don't have a right to life currently in our nation. What makes the born versus unborn have a right to life or not? SLE, number three, our environment. And we've been talking about the inside the mother or outside the mother, in the womb, outside the womb. What grants individuals, what grants humans the right to life and equal protection when they go from inside the mother to outside the mother, between 4 and 7 inches down the birth canal? What gives them magic personhood as they come out and are born? What is it about being born that grants this right to life? And for the environment, there's actually some surgeries that are being done now where they temporarily remove the baby from the mother's womb, do surgery, and put the baby back in to finish developing, to finish gestating within its mother. Does it go from a non-person to a person to not being a person again when it goes back into its mother? Of course not. All it's doing is changing its location from one place to another. It should not change anyone's value or right to life. So SLED, the degree of dependency. How much is the unborn dependent upon its mother, upon some other being to survive? So obviously it has a high level of dependency being attached to its mother, but does a high degree of dependency mean that they don't have a right to life, that they don't have a right to be protected from having their lives unjustly taken? And I can tell you, a newborn, it is much more work for my wife, and for me especially, because I wasn't carrying the baby. But my wife would agree, a newborn is much more work than carrying the baby in her womb. If the degree of dependency shows that we don't need to protect or that we can kill a young individual, what stops us from killing newborn babies? What stops us from killing those with disabilities that have a high degree of dependency, etc.? It is a very dangerous position to hold, to allow us to kill the unborn because they have a high degree of dependency. It's a slippery slope that is going to allow, that would allow for killing of many other individuals who are born. Ultimately, going back to the syllogism, it is always wrong to kill an innocent human being. Abortion kills an innocent human being. Therefore, all abortion is wrong. And when we consider what the difference is between an unborn individual and a born individual is, we've got size, we've got level of development, we've got the environment that we find ourselves in, and we have a degree of dependency. None of those differences between the born and the unborn should take away the right to life, the intrinsic value that we as human beings have, being made in the image of God. And one more point on this. Notice those 4 things that we looked at, that SLED acronym, they all come in a range, meaning we all have them at varying degrees. I'm not as tall as my dad. I'm taller than some of my brothers. I have a taller brother. I'm more developed than my 6-year-old daughter. I live in one state. My wife's family lives in another state. Does that make one of us more valuable than the other? And then we all have different degrees of dependency upon family, friends, neighbors, how much assistance we need. All these things come in varying degrees. Does that mean I have more or less human value, more or less worthy of protection, more or less right to life than those around me because we have varying degrees of these things? These are not what give us value or give us the right to life. If you are looking for some more information on this, please check out in the description below. There's an abolitionist field guide that will give you some additional information on these arguments and other topics as well. And if you're looking for more video content that will help answer pro-abort arguments, that will help you defend the unborn and will show failings of the pro-life movement, please check out this video right here.